All right, everyone. This is some good news. I know that the news today has not been fantastic. I mean, the Kamala stuff is good, but outside of that, you know, kind of bad news today. But this news is through and through 100% good. World of Warcraft devs form Blizzard's first wall-to-wall union 3 years after a walkout. If you guys don't remember, the Blizzard devs, they hosted a walkout 3 years ago, and it was like a big protest they did, and now, as of yesterday, they have formed a 500-employee union. One so large that if they fired all these people, or even one of them, and they all resigned or stopped working, the company would be fucked. Which is the whole point of a union, is that you've basically got the company you work for by the balls, where they've got to treat you well, and you've got to treat them well, or everything falls apart. But as long as everyone does their part, and everyone is treated fair, everybody's happy. Except for, obviously, those that want to fuck over their workers and, you know, just to get extra pennies. But, obviously, no one would want to fuck over their workers and get extra pennies, right? Like, Blizzard execs wouldn't want that, right? Right? Surely. This is off the heels of apparently some Bethesda devs also unionized over the last week. I don't know much about that situation, but I imagine we're about to learn about it in this article. More than 500 Activision Blizzard employees have formed a union with the Communications Workers of America, just days after a union was formed at Bethesda Game Studios. Mind you, that's Bethesda Game Studios. Bethesda is also a publisher. They have a lot of studios under them. So this is specifically referencing their dev wing, right? Like Bethesda, or at least one of Bethesda's dev wings. I think they'd have multiple, right? So like, I think this is the studio that makes like Skyrim, Fallout, right? If you're going to talk about some devs striking, please also cover SAG-AFTRA's voice actors and motion actors also striking as of the past 24 hours. Okay. Is there another SAG-AFTRA strike? Ooh, yeah, there is, over AI concerns. Okay, we'll follow up. We'll read that article right after this one. Thank you, Mogminer. I appreciate it. For those that don't know, Mogminer is a game developer. I think you're okay with me saying where you work, right? Is that allowed? I usually don't. Is that because I don't know if I'm allowed? Please be clear that it's ZeniMax Media Incorporated, where QA and CS have been unionizing. Okay, so it's ZeniMax Media Incorporated. That is the company that owns Bethesda, the publisher, which owns Bethesda Game Studios, and a bunch of other development teams and studios that you'll know, right? So like Machine Games is an example. I think id Software, ID Software as well. So yeah, Bethesda as a publisher is owned by ZeniMax Media, and ZeniMax Media is the company that is being protested here. I'm not representative of where I work. Okay, fair. I mean, I'm just, you know, generally saying like I don't want to dox your place of work if I'm not allowed. I'm overcautious about those kind of things, you know. True, yeah. Mog only speaks for themselves, not representative of the company's position. The larger of the two units is being called... Oh, wait, sorry. Both studios have been acquired by Microsoft. And Microsoft owns ZeniMax as well, I'm assuming, right? So even higher up the totem pole from ZeniMax, we've got Microsoft. In recent years, benefiting from a labor neutrality agreement at the company. At Blizzard, the unionization push has resulted in two separate units, one consisting of World of Warcraft developers and one made up of QA testers. The larger of the two units is being called the World of Warcraft Game Makers Guild. It's what's known as a I love that it's called the fucking Game Makers Guild. That goes hard. The fucking WoW union is called a guild. That goes hard. It's what's known as a wall-to-wall union, meaning everyone on the World of Warcraft team is covered by its agreement, regardless of their title or duties. In contrast, the second union form simultaneously consists solely of QA testers, including teams working on Diablo. Quote, there aren't a lot of games as big, successful, long-standing, and celebrated as World of Warcraft, and the place Blizzard occupies in this industry has a lot of influence. Senior producer of World of Warcraft Samuel Cooper tells Inverse, we hope we inspire other workers to organize and win a voice at the table. There's been so many friends I've tried to convince to play World of Warcraft Classic with me, and they're always like, I'll never support Blizzard again after the sexual harassment scandal, and it's like, they fired the people doing the sexual harassment. So, like, you won't support the victims of the sexual harassment that didn't get fired that are still working at the company? Because the sexual harassers are the ones that got fired and aren't there anymore. So the people you're boycotting are the employees who got sexually harassed. And usually, like, a lot of the jokes made about the employees and Blizzard, they'll joke about, like, Blizzard employees are drinking breast milk. It was higher up management that were hosting the cube crawls. The breast milk drinking thing was higher up management. So the people they're shitting on, the devs, were the ones that were victims of the creeps at Blizzard. So all of the, like, I hope that this ends up being, like, a kill shot in response to,
I'll never support another Blizzard game again. No, I won't play Classic WoW with you. Weh.
I'll just respond, oh, you won't play, like, one of the few, like, wall-to-wall unionized game development, like, games, like, developed by a union? Okay. Like... Damn, bro, they had Homelander working at Blizzard? But actually, though, yeah. No, but literally. Like, they had someone at Blizzard who was stealing breast milk from a pregnant, or I guess, like, nursing mother. Because she had a fridge, or I guess she was keeping it in, like, there might have been, like, a mini fridge where she was keeping, like, bottled breast milk in her office or, like, in a break room or something because, like, she's a nursing mom. And apparently the bottles were going missing. So some employee or higher up, and they got found out. It was a higher up, I think, was stealing the breast milk and doing God knows what with it. God knows what. You coming to play War Within? Oh yeah, I'll definitely play War Within. I've obviously got a lot of work to do in FF14, and War Within comes soon, so I might not be a day one War Within guy. And it really depends. Like, I'm gonna watch a little bit of like a streamer's playthrough, and see how the opening of the expansion goes. And if I'm not impressed, then I'm not even gonna pay for the subscription. I'm gonna be real. FF14 might have got me, guys. If War Within is not the game changer it's been promised to be, and I'll be able to tell within like 5 minutes of watching a streamer play through the opening of the expansion, if it's not the game changer it's been promised to be, I'm not even gonna bother playing it. Dragonflight was fun, but like once you've experienced FF14, it's hard to go back to WoW. Except for Classic. Classic is like its own thing and is so unique from FF14, but if you're playing modern WoW, unless War Within fixes it, like modern WoW is just an inferior iteration of a modern MMO compared to FF14. Like, if you want to play a modern MMO, play FF14. If you want to play like an old school MMO, play either old school RuneScape or WoW Classic. They are truly different experiences. I'd say FF14 and Classic WoW are just not comparable. They are completely different and offer completely different experiences, yeah. Anyway, getting stunlocked. In 2022, Microsoft entered into a labor neutrality agreement with CWA, which protects workers' ability to unionize without interference from the company. Under the agreement, workers are free to communicate about union formation and are provided with an online platform to streamline any union vote. That online platform was used in the vote to form the World of Warcraft Union, in which 300 employees voted in favor and 18 voted against. The World of Warcraft Union became the largest wall-to-wall union at Microsoft just a week after Bethesda's 241-person union first claimed the title. I love how the first union happens over at Bethesda, and then like a week later, one happens at Blizzard. This could be precedent setting. What do you think this is telling the rest of the gaming industry? Like, how quick do you expect more unions to start popping up in the game industry? I hope fast. I hope it's exponential. I hope like every other day it's like, this studio just unionized. Oh, CD Projekt Red just unionized. Oh, this team is unionized. The Fortnite devs just unionized. Like, I hope it's just day after day. Like, the game industry slowly realizes like, oh wait, we can do that? Fuck, I hope. There's more to it than that, I imagine, though, which I'll be getting into in the next article that Mogminer just sent me. Cooper says that among the issues that workers are eager to negotiate, wages are a high priority, as they should be. Irvine and Boston are not cheap places to live and work, Cooper says. Members have opinions on the bonus structure, wages themselves, a distinction between cost of living and merit increases, and more. We'll rely on member surveys to make sure we prioritize the right things when bargaining for compensation. Okay, Mogminer, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard this from other game developers before. Game devs get paid based on the success of the game past a certain point, right? Like, there's a base pay, and then, like, there's almost like a commission. Like, if the game pops off, there's like a stimulus. And that's like the thing that game devs bank on from these big studios, right? Is that the game they worked on, it ends up being big and they end up getting paid more than their salary. Like, kind of a royalty I've heard this, but I don't know how true it is or how widespread this practice is. You don't have to speak from your experience, Mogminer, but if you, like, can vague tweet about, like, the game industry at large, that would help. No, they don't. Game devs get base salary and then get bonuses based on performance. That's exactly what I just said. Violet Wash. Chat. This person replied, no, they don't. Game devs get a base salary and then they get bonuses based on performance. Is that not what I just said? Is it performance in work? Like, or is it performance in the product? No, you said they get royalties. Oh my god. Do I ban this person? Do I ban them for their pedanticness? Because, like, that's a red flag, right? That they got shitty over me saying royalties instead of... Oh, and they called me an... Okay, yeah. Yeah, they'll get banned. Yeah. Enjoy that, Violet Walsh. Have a good one, buddy. Dude, one of the biggest, like, tells as to whether or not there's a psycho in chat is how pedantic they are. I'm so good. Like, I'll say things that are 100% right, but, like, one word, I always, like, accidentally say a word that means the same thing, but isn't the, like, word that's commonly associated with it, and some pedantic fuckhead will pretend not to get what I'm saying and bitch in the chat. And every time, it's like the most ideal red flag ever. Like, the second I see that, it's like, okay, ban them. Because those people always end up being a bigger problem down the road. They always, like, they are conflict-minded, you know what I mean? That's a little bit of streaming advice for you guys out there. If you start to build an audience and you notice you've got conflict-minded audience members, might be worth proactively banning those people, because if they build up to a sizable portion of your fan base, it can be a problem in the future. Trust. Quote, we continue to support our employees' right to choose how they are represented in the workforce, and we will engage in good faith negotiations with the CWA as we work towards a collective bargaining agreement, a Microsoft spokesperson said in an email. The smooth process of union recognition, in this case, is a stark contrast to the first union formed at Activision Blizzard, which was also the first union at any U.S. game developer. In 2022, quality assurance workers at Raven Software voted to form the Game Workers Alliance under the CWA. In that case, union elections were overseen by the National Labor Relations Board and only came after a month-long strike following an earlier round of layoffs. Now that the World of Warcraft team has voted to form its union, it will begin negotiations with Blizzard Entertainment management on the specifics of its contract. While the details are yet to be worked out, the genesis of Blizzard's unionization efforts does point to some protection workers may be fighting for. In 2021, Blizzard was sued by California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing, which alleged that sexual harassment and discrimination were rampant. Activision Blizzard settled the suit for $54 million last year, but the lawsuit and the response from management helped spur employees to first walk out when beginning to form their union. That was 2 years ago. The games industry has also been through a rough wave of layoffs for the past few years, including 1,900 at Activision Blizzard in 2024. That's so far this year. 1,900, nearly 2,000 employees have been laid off. At the same time, employees at many studios are being asked to return to in-office work after years of remote options that began during the lockdown of 2021. It's highly likely that Blizzard's newly unionized workers will seek protections around layoffs and remote work as well. Yeah, game development is like there's no excuse for, like, game devs not to be able to do their work in a remote setting. Like, it makes no fucking sense. Like, I get, like, the office environment is probably useful a lot of the time, but from what I've heard, at least, like, Hytale has been developed largely remotely, you know? I think if you can't make remote... I think if you can't make the remote work, that is a failure of management, not a failure of the workers or of remote working. Like, game projects can totally be done that way. I don't... It seems cheaper, right? Like, isn't it cheaper for employees to work from home, too? Like, you're not having to power all the lights for every single cubicle for workers, every room. Less water running, less, like, air conditioning or heating. Like, wouldn't it just be, like, cheaper all around? Like wouldn't it be cheaper all around to just, like, work from home for a lot of these types of jobs where you're just at a computer? But then they can't get rid of that office they paid so much for? Yeah, I guess they paid for the offices already, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, if I could just opt out of having to pay the bills to, like, provide office necessities to my workers, and they could just work from home and still get about the same amount of work done, I feel like that pays off. I don't know. Whereas Paradox pulled the move of tapping one of their own in-house studios for Magicka 2, Sony had the courtesy to approach it. Okay, sorry. I don't know if that's related to what I'm talking about now. The World of Warcraft Game Makers Guild is the only wall-to-wall union at Activision Blizzard, but it's not the largest union at the company overall. This March, around 600 QA testers unionized at Activision, becoming the largest union of game developers in the United States. The latest unions bring the total of unionized game workers at Microsoft to more than 1,700, almost as many as were laid off this year. According to the CWA, the new unions at Blizzard are expected to galvanize workers at other studios to begin organizing efforts of their own. That's what I said, and that's what I hope. Quote, unionizing, one of the most successful games ever, signifies the rising power of worker solidarity across the industry, from AAA studios like Sega and Bethesda to indie developers. Tom Smith, senior director of organizing at CWA, said, quote, what seemed impossible 6 years ago is now a reality, and this is just the beginning. This is pretty big. I've also got another article here from the Associated Press that goes on to say, video game performers will go on strike over artificial intelligence concerns. We are currently, and this is today's news, this is today, a shitload of video game voice actors and mocap artists are striking with SAG-AFTRA right now. Like, if you guys remember the SAG-AFTRA strikes for actors and whatnot, and like that happened a little while ago, the voice actors and mocap artists are doing this now. And we're about to find out why. Certainly good reasons, but we're about to find out those reasons. Los Angeles AP. Hollywood's video game performers announced they would go on strike Thursday, throwing part of the entertainment industry into another work stoppage after talks for a new contract with major game studios broke down over artificial intelligence protections. For those that don't know, game executives, like executives of game companies, want to start using AI to replace voice actors, particularly because there is the potential for a lot more interaction with NPCs with that ability, and it would save a lot of money. But at the same time, you are eliminating an entire line of work, and that's not good. That can't be allowed. The strike, the second for video game voice actors and motion capture performers under the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, or SAG-AFTRA, will begin at 12:01 a.m. Friday. That 12:01 a.m. Yeah, literally it started at midnight, like when it ticked over this morning, so it's today. The move comes after nearly 2 years of negotiations with gaming giants, including divisions of Activision, Warner Bros., and Walt Disney Company, over a new interactive media agreement. SAG-AFTRA negotiators say gains have been made over wages and job safety in the video game contract, but that the two sides remain split over the regulation of generative AI. A spokesperson for the video game producers, Audrey Cooling, said the studios offered AI protections, but SAG-AFTRA's negotiating committee said that the studio's definition of who constitutes a performer is key to understanding the issue of who would be protected. Obviously, yeah, if the companies are presenting no, we totally already, we want to protect them from AI taking their jobs. Yeah, right. Clearly the union has a problem with whatever plan the companies put forward for good reason. Quote, the industry has told us point blank that they do not necessarily consider everyone who is rendering movement performance to be a performer that is covered by the collective bargaining agreement, SAG-AFTRA Chief Contracts Officer Ray Rodriguez said at a news conference Thursday afternoon. He said some physical performances are being treated as data. Without guardrails, and mind you, like, mocap is one of the most impressive forms of performance out there. Need I remind you of fucking Andy Serkis, the fucking goat, Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies, fucking Gollum in Lord of the Rings? Like, he's the mocap guy. You can't tell me that, like, the way that, especially, I think watching Andy Serkis do mocap performance is really the best way to see how much skill and unique skill it takes to do mocap performance, is that, like, it takes more. You have to over-exaggerate everything in a way that almost feels unnatural so that the emotions translate over to the digital actor. And it's a very unique skill, and it's hard to do without looking goofy or making the wrong faces. You have to have so much control of your face. Like, Andy Serkis must be able to, like, wiggle his ears and, like, make eyebrow caterpillars and shit, because you need to be able to do those things to be a mocap artist. There's so much to it. It's not just the movements of your body. It comes down to your face and emotions, and you have to present emotions in a very, clear way for it to be picked up. I don't know all the details, but I can tell you from watching behind the scenes of, like, mocap work, it's hard and it's impressive. I think, let me show one of my favorite examples. Raising Kratos. This is the documentary that Sony Santa Monica made, where they show a ton of the work that went into the mocap performance for Atreus, Kratos, Freya, everybody. Let me skip to the part where they're doing the mocap bit here. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is, yeah. Okay, here's a bit where we get to see some, like, this is really high budget mocap. Or sorry, the industry now has performance capture where specifically don't need to exaggerate as much. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, performance capture, my bad, Mogminer. Performance capture would be the more accurate term for it, not mocap. I'm sorry. Mocap is like this really, it's like Kleenex or hot tub or jacuzzi, or like, it's a very specific term that's been so, like, normalized as, like, a umbrella term, but it's actually, like, completely wrong when you say it that way. It's performance capture. I actually like that word better, too.
Not going the way that she had hoped.
Yeah, here's an example of what it looks like.
If it hadn't been that, it could have been anything else in my life where there was a goodbye from someone that, abandonment issues. I mean, we come on, we're human. We've all got our bag of pain. Oh, that. Okay, we'll use that one.
Yeah, like in Barry.
Cut! Z-pose, thank you. Clear. Markers down.
Oh, just one little marker. Who needs my pinky? Oh, his pinky, too.
I think as an actor, you always want to feel safe. You always want to, because when you do.
It's a whole documentary, and it's like 2 hours long, so we're not gonna watch the whole thing. But there's a good few bits where they show, like, the behind the scenes of the performance capture and stuff. So yeah, they do accept performance capture tends to avoid a lot of the issues of mocap. That makes sense, because I've seen that, like, a game I'm pretty sure was mocapped and not performance captured was the original Until Dawn. Until Dawn, fantastic game. One of the first games that, like, heavily used mocap, I think. But I'm pretty sure it's mocap. Because notably, if anyone remembers anything about Until Dawn, it's that a lot of the characters talk like this. And it's because the actors, A, they're TV and movie actors, so they probably didn't have a lot of experience with performance capture or mocap. And 2, I'm pretty sure the technology was just worse back then. And I think it was just mocap technology, not performance capture. And they had to talk like this and make faces and emotions like this for it to carry over. Yeah, Until Dawn is goated, dude, but yeah. I sent you a link to Goodbye Kansas's breakdown of the Helldivers 2 intro cutscene. It was heavily performance captured. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Hold on. Let's check that out. Let's check that out. Hold on. For those of you guys that don't know, Mogminer in chat worked on Helldivers 2. So they sent some cool... video that breaks down the intro cinematic for Helldivers 2 and the mocap work that went in. Let's check this out. Or the performance capture, I should say. Is it yeah. Performance capture.
Super Earth. Our home.
Well, it's the same company that made the quarry.
Prosperity. Liberty.
Liberty. Prosperity.
Hi there. Democracy.
Oh, democracy. I fucked it up.
Our way of life.
Oh, hello.
Dude, it's so cool. Who remembers the iconic image of all the Doom guy faces? Who remembers all the different Doom guy faces that were like viral memes? Who remembers that? Who's seen the picture where it's just Doom guy mewing? Here, we'll go back to it. No! Sweet liberty! No! So good. I've watched this intro probably 1,000 times. Like, every time I boot up Helldivers 2, I never skip this intro. I always just watch it. It goes so hard.
Look familiar? Scenes like these are happening all over the galaxy right now. And you could be next.
Right now. You could be next.
Prove to your...
Dude, they've got to, like, slow it down, speed it up, and, like, rewatch it a million times. Make sure, like, syncing works and everything, and there's no, like, small mistakes or glitches. Probably, like, it's not just the performance capture. It's the work that goes into, like, turning the performance into the game as well. Like transferring it over. There's a lot of work that goes in there, too.
Yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be free.
I saw this shot on Twitter. I've seen this shot on Twitter. This side-by-side here, where he like, lowers that down to be, like, the like, tracker for the helmet is. I've seen this on Twitter, this one GIF.
Join the Helldivers.
Yeah, it's 1-1. You're not wrong, Bonfire. Oh, that goes hard. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Nothing goes harder than that fucking chest bump, dude. The fucking planting the flag into the Terminid, and just chest bumping after raising the flag. It's perfect. I love how they got the chest bump. I love that they really did it too. Of course they did, but like, oh, it's so perfect. It's so good. Yeah, dude, like, performance capture is big. The fact that there are executives that are trying to say that their performances are not performances, that they aren't actors, they aren't due to the benefits of a performer, and that their performance is just data. That's what they're trying to say. It's just data. It doesn't qualify as a performance. Clear bullshit. Like it's very clear this is acting. This is performance. This is work. There's no reasonable person would watch the work that is entailed in performance capture and say that's just data. You don't deserve to be considered a performer. No one would. No one in their right mind would. Without guardrails, game companies could train AI to replicate an actor's voice or create a digital replica of their likeness without their consent or fair compensation, the union said. Quote, we strike as a matter of last resort. We have given this process absolutely as much time as we possibly can, Rodriguez told reporters. We have exhausted the other possibilities, and that is why we're doing it now. Dude, AI might be what, like, drives so many workers towards, like, class consciousness, unironically. It looks that way. Like, AI is scary. Even I, who's like, I'm 25 tomorrow, right? That's pretty old, but it's also pretty young. And even at my age, I grew up on Terminator, okay? Terminator is one of my favorite franchises. So at a very young age, I think I was probably 7 when my Uncle Nick showed me Terminator 2 for the first time. And he just sat me down, was like, you're going to love this movie. And he put on Terminator 2. And I loved it. I had nightmares, that's for sure. I was like 7, so I had nightmares for weeks because the opening of the movie is, it fucked with me a little bit as a kid. But outside of that, loved the fucking movie. And ever since then, I've known the threat of AI. Like generations have known the threat of AI. And so I absolutely could see, like, people's fear of a real-life Skynet driving them to class consciousness. The possibility of AI taking your job is a real motivator, a real radicalizer of sorts. Kohling said the company's offer extends meaningful AI protections. I'm sure you guys wouldn't try to fuck your performers in exchange for paying them less money and making more money in the long run. Yeah, absolutely not. Quote, we are disappointed the union has chosen to walk away when we are so close to a deal, and we remain prepared to resume negotiations, she said. Andy Norris, an actor and member of the union's negotiating committee, said that those who do stunt work or creature performances would still be at risk under the game company's offer. Oh, you know what else? There's so much work that goes into making games, and they're not even going to mention all of them here, I bet. Foley artists. Are we even going to give a convo about Foley? Because I remembered, for those who don't know, Foley effects are sound effects made by a person using a variety of different tools and objects in order to replicate noises that our minds would more readily associate with a certain situation when watching a piece of media. So instead of recording a real sound of a boot crunching into the snow, they might like crinkle 2 pieces of foam together to make a snow crunch sound because it'll carry through clear through like audio compression in a show or a movie or a game. And so Foley effects, that's a massive field of art, is just being able to replicate what sounds right for a sound effect, right? Foley artists are used a lot in gaming. I mean, I know a good few games that use Foley artists specifically for all their sound effects they didn't pull from a sound library. One game using Foley effects is Hytale. I can bring up the blog post now if you guys want to see, like, because there's just, I feel like this is a game development appreciation segment as well. This is my most hyped game of all time, by the way, guys. Found it. So yeah, here's how a ton of the Foley effects for Hytale are being made. And this is obviously, like, this isn't even, like, the craziest Foley studio I've seen in my life. I've seen ones where it's, like, a lady in a room that's filled with, like, wall-to-wall filled with random shit. And it's not just, like, clutter. The random shit is all there for a reason. Like, they're like, can you make a sound that's, like, raindrops spattering on a rooftop? And she's like, yeah, give me 5 seconds. And then she'll just root around in a pile, pull out 2 things, and then rub them together, and it makes the exact sound of, like, rain hitting, like, a steel roof. And you're like, holy shit! You knew exactly where those 2 objects were. You knew what you needed to make that sound, and you knew where they were in this massive clutter. This is organized chaos, you know what I mean? This is a much more tidy Foley studio than I've seen before, but this is another example of, like, the secret work that goes into the things you enjoy, the sound effects. You basically get a lot of different sound bits that are, like, specifically best to be used in certain situations. They also get ambient, like, the game's ambient sounds are going to be from places like this. So this is a location where they captured ambient noise. That is very pretty. Holy crap. It's like a flooded... I'm guessing a beaver dam is what happened here. Right? That's all that makes sense. Either there was some insane flooding, or beavers built a dam. I don't know where this is, but I think this is the result of a beaver dam, if I were to guess. Because they dam up a river, and then everything before the dam starts overflowing like this. So yeah, this certainly looks like a beaver did it. Anyway, very beautiful environment. Very good example of like how even sound effects for stuff are gotten. Like there's workers that it is their job to make sound effects and capture sound. Andy Norris, an actor and member of the union's negotiating committee, said that those who do stunt work or creature performances will still be at risk under the game company's offer. The performers who bring their body of work to these games create a whole variety of characters, and all of that work must be covered. The proposal would carve out anything that doesn't look and sound identical to me as I sit there, when in truth, on any given week, I am a zombie. I am a soldier. I am a zombie soldier, Norris said. We cannot and will not accept that a stunt or movement performer giving full performance on stage next to a voice actor isn't a performer. True. The global video game industry generates well over $100 billion. It's the biggest entertainment industry in the world. Well over $100 billion in profit annually, according to game market forecaster Newzoo. The people who design and bring those games to life are the driving force behind that success, SAG-AFTRA said. Members voted overwhelmingly last year to give leadership the authority to strike. Concerns about how movie studios will use AI help fuel last year's film and television strikes by the union, which lasted for a whole 4 months. The last interactive contract, which expired in November 2022, did not provide protections around AI, but secured a bonus compensation structure for voice actors and performance capture artists after an 11-month strike that began in October 2016. That work stoppage marked the first major labor action from SAG-AFTRA following the merger of Hollywood's two largest actors' unions in 2012. The video game agreement covers more than 2,500 off-camera voiceover performers, on-camera motion capture stunt performers, stunt coordinators, singers, dancers, puppeteers, and background performers, according to the union. Amid the tense interactive negotiations, SAG-AFTRA created a separate contract in February that covered independent and lower-budget video game projects. The tired budget independent interactive media agreement contains some of the protections on AI that video game industry titans have rejected. Games signed in an interim interactive media agreement, tiered budget independent interactive agreement, or interim interactive localization agreement are not part of the strike, the union said. So, an interim interactive media agreement, what is that? The interactive media agreement, video game strike order extends to interactive programs produced under the Screen Actors Guild. Certain interactive programs, however, are not struck and therefore not within the scope of this strike's order. These include interactive programs approved for an interim interactive media agreement or interim interactive localization agreement, or signed to a tiered budget independent agreement that are not struck, and members are encouraged to work these programs during the strike. So are these like, if there's like a companion app for a game, the developers of the companion app aren't necessarily included in the strike? I think is what they're getting at here, like, because a lot of games will come with like there might be there might be like a game benchmark, which was made by a different studio. That wouldn't be striked, even if it's, you know, like the FF14 benchmark was made not by the FF14 devs. Like, they sent that stuff to a different studio that made the benchmark, so you could run the graphics update benchmark. So like that would be like a companion software that might not apply. Or like if there's a companion app that lets you like check your character when you're like away from home on your phone, I guess that wouldn't apply. Like the developers of those, maybe? Like for PC, yeah, like when you run a benchmark on your computer to test the performance of the game. Yes, Game Master 19. Anyway, with that said, I am fully behind the striking performers as well as the unionizers over at Bethesda and Blizzard. What great news. Obviously, you know, not 100% great news in the striking performers, because we don't know if they're going to get what they want. But as for the unionizing game developers, this is some pretty great news. Not to mention, we've seen nearly 2,000 Microsoft-owned game studios, we've seen nearly 2,000 employees total at Microsoft-owned game studios in the last, like, month unionize? Nearly 2,000 employees. That's fucking crazy. It's almost as many as they've terminated this year. Fallout 4 is something that, in the form of the Pip-Boy app, where you can look at your character's stats. Yeah, like, that's what I'm talking about. Where you, like, if there's a companion app, like for Fallout 4, where you can look at your character on, like, your phone, the developers for that app, I guess it wouldn't include. But yeah, with all that said, if you like what you heard, and you feel like you've been informed, please consider dropping a like. Every thumbs up really does go a long way. Boosts the channel and the algorithm and helps more people see my content, and, you know, maybe they become fans. So thank you so much to everybody who hits that button. Subscribe and ring the bell icon if you haven't already. It really does mean a lot to me, as always. And follow my social medias, linked down below in the description, comment, and join my fan Discord. It is the main hub of my community. In fact, right in a few moments after I wrap up stream, we're going to be heading into my Discord server, into the Zan's Theater voice chat, where we are going to be watching the next, we're just finishing season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I'm watching through completely blind. I really do hope to see you all there. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, you can also support me financially by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, which is always appreciated. xanderhall.com/live, or through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, all that, buying merch. It's always appreciated. Regardless, though, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.